Hi everyone, welcome back to Highly Inspired. Today we're going to be talking about 26 things we've learned by 26. I thought it was 25 things by 25.
We've had this idea since we turned 25, and we're just now getting to it by the time we're 26. So it's a little delayed, and while editing our list, we added maybe 50 more things. So it's not actually 26.
It's just kind of some food for thought of things that we have landed on since our brain being fully developed.
Which I want to say something about that. I never believed people about the whole frontal lobe development phenomenon until I turned 25. And I felt like, for me personally, it was a thing.
It is. Remember, I turned 25 a few months before you, and I kind of warned you, like, hey, I'm just letting you know your brain will, like, it will loop in a close, and you will have this, like, aha epiphany moment, and it's very weird.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it was especially weird because I had a kid 2 years before my brain fully developed. So, like, I was a child raising a child for the first, like, 2 years.
For multiple years before your brain was fully developed.
Yes.
I felt like if I could explain the experience of feeling like my brain was developed was I had epiphany moments before turning 25, but it felt like once I turned 25, the frequency of the epiphany moments were so much more common.
Yeah.
And they just felt very clear.
Yes.
Whereas they were more scattered and unpredictable. It felt like I had more control over the epiphanies that I was having.
I feel like for me too, the epiphanies, which are things that were like kind of on this list, became more integrated in phrases that I come back to, as opposed to just like one time I thought about it and then I never thought about it again. It became like these habitual reminders. So that being said, should we dive into
Yeah, I want to just preface, we kind of tried to segment them out into different categories of life because we have some learnings across the board with work, with family, with relationships, with our own personal self-development and finding purpose and, implementing a vision for your life. So we try to categorize them, and they are in no particular order. Personally, I think we both resonate with all of these almost equally.
Yes.
So,
okay, the first category that we want to do is about relationships and purpose. And this isn't just like dating relationships. This is all types of relationships. But the first one is the world is full of lonely people just waiting for someone else to drop the first invite. Which basically means to me that you should kind of just realize that we're all kind of walking alone and in the same place of looking for connection, looking for friendships, looking for opportunities to meet people and have fun experiences. And so you shouldn't be afraid just to like include people and have a mindset of like the more the merrier. Invite someone to something that you're doing, et cetera, because most likely that person will be down. In my opinion.
Yeah. Being an includer and combiner of people to bring people together. I think that's taking leadership, and it's true. It's amazing to receive an invite. I've never received an invite from someone, that I care about or that I like, or even don't even really know that well. Receiving an invite typically always feels good.
Yes.
And so from there, you might not have to agree to that invite and say yes, but you have it. And being the person who gets that ball rolling and starts that energy and has that inclusive energy, I think is really cool.
Yeah. And it's like the worst thing that person can do is say no. And it might be for a good reason, but they're not going to think it's weird. Like you said, they're going to be flattered that you thought of them, unless they're just a very weird, bad person. But I would say most people are not like that. They're going to feel flattered and happy that you included them. And you don't know where that one invite could lead. It could become your next like best friend. You just don't know. So,
okay, I'm taking the next one. Again, in no particular order. your therapist cannot replace a good friend
that knows the plot points.
Yes. So this is something that we've realized recently through each of us have had different things that we've been navigating. And I think we've realized that when you pay a therapist and you only get an hour, you have to recap every single possible detail leading up to that therapy appointment.
Yeah.
And because your therapist is not invested in your life and they don't know you as a person and in these different time frames of a day, there is kind of a cap to how much advice that they can give you on navigating yourself out of that situation.
Yeah.
But a friend who's there 24/7 and is so much more responsive and has kind of a stake in the game via you, there's so much more motivation and incentive to provide better advice to your friend. And I feel like we've done that mutually for each other, and it's been so much more effective than any other person of advice or therapist.
And it's not to say don't go to a therapist. It's just to realize that your therapist is probably going to give you more of a clinical analysis, which may be helpful to bring more specifics to the situation to help you be able to name maybe what's going on, but they don't know all the characters in the plot. And usually a very close friend is going to have met the people or have more or maybe know more about your work or whatever, or who you're dating. Correct. To be able to give you more holistic advice. They may even know, let's say you're struggling with something with a boyfriend or a mutual friend of yours, they're going to know that third party a lot better, plus you, than a therapist who hasn't met this third party that you're talking about. I feel like an example for me is one time I was trying to work through a dynamic that I had with a third party with a therapist, and they were like, "Do you think this person could be a narcissist?" And I just laugh. I'm like, "No, they're not."
Aren't you supposed to tell me that? But you're the therapist.
But I'm like, "No, they're not a narcissist." I know what I'm saying maybe sounds like they could be in that diagnosis, but you are only hearing the worst part of the plot. You're not hearing all the you don't know this person holistically.
And they're probably jumping the gun on creating a label for them to categorize them to then be able to justify their advice.
Right.
But most people don't fall into black and white categories like that.
Yes. Now, some people may, but most people don't. And so you have to, it can help to have a friend that is nuanced and can do that for you. And also is just you should nurture your friendships so that when something does go wrong in another area of your life, you can go to your friend without feeling like you're burdening them because it's your friend. Of course they're going to be there for you.
Yeah. And it's also non-transactional of, oh, I did this for you. I helped you through this. Therefore, the next thing I go through, you must help me. It's not like that. And we're not keeping a tally of who has more stuff or who's seeking advice more. I don't think that that's healthy either. It's really just, having a stake and being invested via your friend, and because you care about them, you want to see a resolution.
Another thing, another kind of piece of advice that ties into that is that people are not replaceable. And I feel like when we were talking about even just different vibes of different cities like Los Angeles versus New York versus Phoenix, I do feel like certain places that people go and move to and when they don't have roots, it comes from a place of thinking, I can replace my friends. I can replace this relationship. I can replace certain people in my life.
I can start over. I can start a new chapter.
And you can always find new friends, but if there's a specific friend or person in your life that you have this very unique bond and you've seen each other over multiple stages of life and growth, you're not going to replace that friendship. I will never be able to replace our friendship, which is meeting each other at 14, living together for 4 years, going to high school, college, post-grad. I'm not going to find another friend that has experienced all of that.
No. And in such core developmental years where we've both seen each other through so many different phases of life.
Yeah.
And kind of have embraced those different variations and eras for each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's time investment.
Yeah.
That's relationships. Yeah. And that's why family too, your family being there from literal day one.
Right.
That's why those relationships are still really king as well.
Right. For sure. Okay, next one. Okay, all you need is one unicorn. And this is related
we've
to a
been
lot of things.
We've been gatekeeping this concept from you guys because we love it so much. We honestly still might do a full episode about it, but in the dating world, in the friendship, networking world, I want everyone to find a unicorn person.
Yes. Find
Even not
unicorn.
in a romantic way. It'd be great if if a unicorn person could be someone that you marry. But I do think that you can find unicorn people of all different walks of life. Mm-hmm. And we just kind of wanted to share this concept with you guys. Would you want to describe it?
Yeah. So I feel like sometimes it can, let's just talk about in the dating world first. Like it can feel super overwhelming. Let's say you're in a season of life where you're going out on a lot of dates, and you're dating anyone from like going on one date to maybe you're seeing someone for a few months, and you just feel like over a year, 2-month period, like, gosh, there's no one out there that's my unicorn. Like there's just no one that really feels like they could be like a soul tie person,
a true connection,
right? But all you have to remember is like you just need one. Like you don't need 10 unicorns, you don't need 5 unicorns, and sometimes like you may meet a unicorn that isn't meant to be like your person. Like maybe, for example, like that guy I met at the bar in San Diego, or who lives in San Diego. Like we had a connection, but they live in a different state or city, and we've had friends where they've had similar experiences. But that can be reassuring because it's like, okay, there are unicorns out there, and it's just a matter of time till I find my unicorn. Another example could be if you're on the fence about having kids or even getting back into the dating world. If you see someone else's kid that seems like a unicorn kid, that can be reassuring that could happen to you one day, and that your child will be a unicorn to you,
Yes, and it's motivating, and you start to get in that headspace of, wait, I could actually create that.
Right.
And I want that energy around me. Yes, and I totally agree. And I do think that the point you made about having multiple unicorns or wanting to find multiple unicorn people.
Yeah.
I truly do think a true unicorn, finding a real unicorn in this day and age is so difficult that it's nearly impossible to find like 10.
Yeah.
So while that could be possible,
right.
I don't think that's super realistic.
I think if you find a unicorn, you should hold on, especially like whether it's a friend or someone that you're dating and could see as a potential partner. I don't think you should throw that away lightly, because also what a unicorn is to you is probably different to someone else. So for you just to think that you have dozens of unicorns out for you, like I don't think that that's possible.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what my advice would be for identifying that they are a unicorn. I do think it's mostly an aura and chemistry thing, but also mostly character driven. But yeah, everyone is so different, and everyone's personality and chemistry interests are so different that there's no way we can set some, if they check this, and this box, that qualifies them as a unicorn, because that's just a case-by-case scenario.
Yeah, I think for the kid situation, which is slightly different, I think for me, I feel like I see a lot of kids that are like iPad kids, or maybe are like super bratty to their parents, or they don't know how to integrate well with public spaces. And I don't mean like a toddler that is having they've been sitting through a 2-hour dinner and they're finally done. Like, of course that's going to happen. But I'm just talking about like kids that kind of feel like like they've been enabled by their parents and they feel entitled.
They're out of control.
It makes you kind of be like, ugh, like I don't want to do that for myself. Like that just seems like a drag. But when you see a kid that like you can tell that their parents put intentionality behind how they parent, and then you're like, oh my gosh, like they're just seem like such a cool, unique kid, and that they've been encouraged to be themselves and to interact with adults and try new foods and stuff like that.
They're more well behaved. They're not operating on one frequency. They're well rounded.
It makes you feel more comfortable jumping into maybe that stage of life, or being like, oh, I could do this. Like I could be a mom. I could be a dad. Like this could be really a rewarding experience. It doesn't have to feel negative, and I can do it in my way. Like, it kind of empowers you to feel that way.
Speaking of parenting, this is a good segue into our next one, which is motherhood is sanctifying work. And before you elaborate, because you are the mom here, not me, I just want to tell a story because we were in LA this past weekend visiting friends for Memorial Day weekend. And we went out on Saturday night and we went to a bunch of different bars. It was like bar hopping. Yeah. And we were at this one bar toward the end of the night. And there was this guy who comes up to Ella and tried to hit on her.
This was after multiple different guys.
She didn't even really respond. She just goes, "I'm a mother." Like, you didn't even turn around. You just screamed at him, "I'm a mother, sir." And then he goes, "You look like a daughter." It was so epic. And that was the end of that conversation. Well, and we just walked out the door and we left.
I think at that point I was so done because the first bar we go to, this guy just grabs my waist, doesn't even come up and like say hi or instigate like a normal conversation.
The audacity.
And I just go, "Sir, like, I'm a mom. Like, please get off of me." And that got him off of me. And then I think throughout the night I started realizing
the mom card is impenetrable.
Right, because I don't even have to disclose, like, because I'm not married or whatever. Like, I am single, but it is kind of like, yeah, like, maybe she's wifed up. Like, I should probably back off, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I will say, going back to being more serious about motherhood, it is sanctifying work. I also think marriage is sanctifying work. And I think that if you don't, well, first what's the definition of sanctifying? It really is like preparing you for sainthood. That's the definition of it, which means
it's filled with a lot of sacrifices.
Cleanse your soul on a day-to-day basis. So it's not going to be immediate. It's like over a lifetime of finding little moments to choose someone else's needs over your own needs, is how I would define it. And I think that the word sanctifying isn't really used in our culture. And the purpose of marriage is that it is a vocation. And it's meant to be a sanctifying vocation because you're meshing your life with someone who's completely, even if you guys are so similar and have so many commonalities, like, you're two different people trying to cohabit and create a third life together, and you're gonna rub up against each other, and hopefully that means iron sharpens iron, and you're helping each other work towards sanctification in this lifetime so that you don't maybe have to do it in the next lifetime.
I love that word, commonalities.
Yeah.
You just said that was perfect.
Mom brain.
Commonalities, similarities.
Same thing. Similar, yeah.
No, yeah.
So the same thing as with parenthood. And I think we've talked about this with weddings and stuff when it gets too focused on the actual wedding as opposed to the marriage or the baby shower versus the fact that you're going to become a mother. I think that becomes really unhealthy very quickly.
Yeah. And on the wedding topic, we wrote down, don't be a shut up ring girl.
Yeah.
As in, don't be that kind of girlfriend that is pressing your boyfriend so much, like, let's get married, I think that is popular right now. And then they just go straight into planning the wedding and all of these events and all of the attention and, mostly attention, whether it's from social media or just the people around you to basically make these publicized events as a part of the wedding.
Movie. It's almost like your bridesmaids are actresses in a movie. Like, it's not.
Yeah. Meanwhile, there's really deep down underlying things that you haven't really worked through with your fiance.
Yeah.
And I actually had a friend recently who was in a similar situation where they broke off their wedding like 4 months before the wedding and lost almost, thousands of dollars because there was some unearthed things that they hadn't worked through. And that is a big fear of mine. I really don't want to get into that situation.
So what to you would be a healthy balance of, obviously both of us are not the type of girls where we want to be placeholder girlfriends or back burner. We don't want someone to waste 10 years of our life and not be serious about us. But we also don't want to rush into something, especially if both, you know, you and your fiance aren't 100% sure that this is the direction you want to go. So how do you find that healthy in between spot where you're not rushing, but you're also not wasting 10 years of your life with someone that has no interest in committing to you?
I don't think it can be chalked up to just a perfect time thing. It's not 5 years. There's no ideal amount of time. I really do think it's more about how much you unearth between you and that person. How much discernment, how much vetting, how much can you really talk through and analyze their intentions and their honesty and their authenticity through those types of more difficult, more dynamic conversation topics. We've talked about the taxi cab theory with guys, which is just like a conspiracy theory. I don't know if we know, and we're also not men ourselves, so I don't know the psychology behind that. But this is a popular theory online.
I think it's men are either that or they're another category, which I'll explain later. But you explain the taxi cab.
Okay, so the taxi cab theory is that for men, at some point a light goes on and they're ready to get married. They're ready to settle down. They're ready to take that next step with whoever the girl is that they have nearest to them at that point in time.
It's not their soulmate.
Yes, and it kind of makes sense because I do think that men are a little bit more linear than women are. I think that we, think across the time dimensions more frequently than men do. Men are very present. They're on this 24-hour hormone cycle. We're on a 28-day typically hormone cycle, so it's a lot more drawn out.
It's a lot more past, present, future all at the same time.
Yeah, so it makes sense to me that the taxi cab theory could be a thing. But yeah, in vetting men that I would potentially marry, that's something that I really want to pay attention to is, am I that girl that is just this piece in their taxi cab era, or do they really want me?
Right. Do they want a wife and children, or do they want to be a father and a husband?
Love that.
I also think too,
that's such a big difference.
No, it's a big difference.
It's also like dog parents versus kid people versus dog people.
Yes.
Like stark differences.
I still have some unresolved issues with dog parents.
You have qualms.
Have you heard it? Wait, I just have to bring this tidbit and then I'll circle back. Have you heard this tidbit about postpartum moms who used to be dog moms and then they have their first kid and then they have resentment towards their dog after they have their first kid because it's like their biology is finally like coming close circle where they realize like the dog is just a pet and not their baby. And so they have this like weird dissociation with their dog because before their kid, it was like a child to them. Mm-hmm. Anyways.
And they probably start to resent the pet.
Yeah, because it's also like the pet, usually like a dog barking at 5 a.m. isn't the end of the world. But if you put a baby to bed and then your dog starts barking at 3 a.m. and then your baby wakes up and you're like exhausted from giving birth, like that's going to make you upset probably.
Yeah. Yeah. And to think that parenting a pet or a dog, for example, oh my gosh, a dog just started barking when I said that. It's comparable to raising a child. They're completely different. Yeah. So it's kind of false advertising to think that would really prepare you. There's no way. You just have to throw yourself into it.
Yeah. And I have an issue too when I'm out in public, and this is just objectively speaking, like my son is very cute for a kid. Like he's objectively cute. A very cute child. And I've had people like, let's say,
but it's also his aura. He's very cute aesthetically, but I personally think what makes him more cute is just his aura, the personality.
Yeah, he has a really sweet personality.
We don't talk about like kids' personalities and that like aura stuff enough.
I would say obviously he's a kid, but he does relatively well in public spaces, especially if we're like in and out quickly. But I've been in a place where like we're going to go get coffee and like the person in front of me may have a dog, and then the barista or someone in front of us in line is like so invested in that dog, and then they don't like, they almost like give like a mean face Toledo or something. And I'm just like, what? Like, why can't we be nice to everyone? Like, I don't understand that.
I know.
But
I think it's lack of knowledge of what to do or handle that. It's not coming from a place of malintent. It's just it's ignorance.
I don't know. But back to the taxi cab thing, I think that there's also another category of men, and I heard this on a podcast recently, and I think it's very accurate, that men aren't afraid of commitment. They're afraid of committing to the man they have to become in order to be with you. Which means they're afraid of the leveling up that they have to do. Like, let's say you're a unicorn to them, and they maybe met you just not at their ideal lineage time or whatever, and they don't want to move. Maybe they are waiting for that taxi cab moment, and this unicorn moment kind of clashed with that. They have to make a decision. Do I keep going on my lineage road by myself, my
linear road,
lineage
yes,
road, like my hero's journey, or do I pause and decide to maybe become the man that they have to be in order to be with you? Which that could be vulnerability. That
would make sense.
I don't know.
And maybe in that moment, why it's so fearful to them is because they see that as such a far out difference compared to where they are.
Right. Like
in that current
they
moment.
might be like, oh, I need 5 more years of work experience. And that's maybe not what the woman's expecting. I think that the biggest thing I've learned from Margarita is it's not low maintenance, or it's not high maintenance to communicate your needs, because your needs are probably not as intense as the other person has in their head. Like if you actually just say like, yeah, like I just need to like see you twice a week or whatever. They're probably like, oh my gosh, I can do that. Like I thought you needed to see me every night, you know? Like, you know what I mean? If you just communicate.
Don't judge a book by its cover.
Right.
You don't know what she's down for and how flexible she is capable of being.
Right.
Yeah. You just have to work through that together. And that's why communication is key overall.
Yes.
That kind of really well leads into the next point we have, which is sometimes you have to play the game. And this is something that has also come up in some recent
allegations.
Some recent allegations and
plots,
dramas, non-dating related, non-men related, that has been revealing of some things, especially for me, speaking for myself. And I do think everyone processes things differently. Everyone in more gray area issues is going to see their side of the story more than anyone else's. It's very difficult to truly put yourself in another person's shoes. And even the practice of that is better than not doing that at all. But I do think that sometimes there has to be a little bit of a game, and the truth will ultimately prevail.
Cream rises to the top.
But sometimes to get out of a situation quicker, I'm on the side that I think playing the game a little bit in a respectful way, in a ethical, moral way. You know, we're not saying do crazy stuff and like lie your way out of it and, psychologically manipulate people. But
it's more like meeting them where they're at.
Yes.
It's not necessarily playing a game. It's meet someone where they're at. And also you can't negotiate with crazy people. So if you're trying to, if you have trust with someone, and it's very easy to be like, hey dude, you messed up and I'm upset, and I'm like, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And then we make up, like whatever.
Yeah.
Like, but if someone else isn't capable and they've done something really messed up and they're not capable for that normal forgiveness track, then you may have to either meet them where they are or figure out a more strategic way to try to either clear your name or bring closure to the situation.
And sometimes you can give closure to yourself.
Yes.
You can't always infer that that person's going to give you closure. Like, we can create closure for ourselves.
Yes.
So that goes along with that conversation too.
And I also think truly being detached doesn't mean that you don't express what you need or give someone a clear opportunity to be in or out, or yes or no, or I'm sorry or not sorry. It still means like driving that to its conclusion best it can. And being detached means that you literally are okay with whatever outcome that brings. Like, you're not trying to control the outcome at all. You're just bringing clarity to the situation.
Yes.
Like, true detachment is bringing clarity.
Yes.
And when you aren't detached, you let people like to live in confusion.
It's kind of just being like transparent about everything.
Right.
Just air it out.
Yeah.
And then
Put your cards on the table.
Exactly. And then the dominoes will fall from there, as they will.
So the next two, I think, kind of go together. So I'll just say them back to back, and then you can kind of explain what they are. Forgiveness isn't the same as reconciliation, and sometimes you have to choose your peace over their potential. Protect your peace.
Okay, to you, why do you think those are so connected?
Because I think that forgiveness always is something you can do without the other person.
Yes.
It's a solo experience, and I think you should always forgive, because it's mainly about your own peace and being able to move forward from a situation.
Yes.
I think that reconciliation kind of goes with trying to work through potential, because in reconciliation, now you're involving the other party that wronged you, or you wronged them, and you're trying to rebuild trust off of this potential idea that you guys could either get to a place of where you were before, or even a better new place. Like, sometimes people say you can have two marriages with the same person, and that doesn't mean like you get divorced. It just means like maybe something happened and then you have a whole new marriage within kind of the same marriage.
Yeah.
And
I agree that forgiveness is more of a solo journey.
Yeah.
You forgiving the other person for them wronging you, and reconciliation is more of that dual effort where it starts with forgiveness, or the person who was wronged forgiving first, and then it's up to the other person to have action steps and show behaviors or apologize to move toward a true reconciling.
Yes.
I also have a couple things to say just about forgiveness in general. And I think whether it's from the Me Too movement or from just a lot that I see in our modern cultural landscape of people not forgiving, and we've kind of normalized holding grudges, and that's okay. You know, I mean, look at feminist kind of dating advice content.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he wronged you, bye.
Right.
One person does this one wrong thing, bye. Like, they're gone. Don't put up with that. And I think that there is
it's also
a
like
spectrum.
that in the trad wife
It depends.
world too.
It depends on the severity of what said person does. Obviously, there are worse actions compared to others, but I just don't think that that's a very black and white approach to take when it comes to treating people. And I do think that there's so much good that comes from forgiveness, and it starts with, you can offload that. You don't have to hold on to that stress anymore. It doesn't feel good to hold on to a grudge. Like, you offload that to something else, and you get it off your chest, and you forgive. Like, that is so freeing, and you yourself take the weight off your shoulders, and in turn are protecting your peace.
Yes.
So if someone out there is looking for a self-motivated reason to be more of a forgiving person, that is literally it.
Yes.
You carry less weight.
Yes. And it doesn't mean don't have boundaries. Because obviously you, like you said, you can forgive someone without ever speaking to them again. Like, it doesn't mean like let that person walk all over you. It just, and also I think forgiveness is once you start practicing it, you're going to also receive more forgiveness from other people. Like, you're just going to naturally start surrounding yourself with a circle of people that all forgive easily.
Yes. Yes.
And I think if someone's like, gosh, like, how could you forgive me? Like, I did something so wrong. It's like, well, I've done really bad things too. And thank goodness someone was there to forgive me. It's kind of like paying it forward.
Yes. Forgiving is paying it forward.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I'm so grateful to have been exposed to Christianity since a young age, because I feel like that's been really ingrained in me. I've been very forgiving of people. And sometimes I've been so forgiving that patterns have continued to repeat until I ultimately decided, okay, I need to
protect your peace.
Protect my peace. Yeah. And this is getting a little bit out of my realm of what I should be around. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's up to you to decide when that is the final moment, or, you know, how to compartmentalize that person or that behavior into a different sort of relationship.
Yeah. And one of the things that I love about Christianity is the balance of justice and mercy, and constantly like having both of those pillars. And sometimes you have to be more merciful, and sometimes you have to have more justice, which means boundaries and protecting your peace. And you're kind of just like wobbling through those two extremes. And there's kind of a beautiful harmony between the two, because mercy, you can't have one without the other. Otherwise, if you're so merciful, you will get taken advantage of. But if you're so into justice, then you'll become too rigid, and your heart will get closed off to life.
And sometimes you'll remove yourself from a person or from an experience that you otherwise would have had if you didn't just have such a stark removal of that from one mistake that person might have made. Yeah. Okay, I really like that. So forgive people.
Yes.
The last one in relationships and purpose we have is sometimes you have to curate a moment. And we have been talking about this since college. Ella and I were definitely spearheaders when it came to trying to plan things, and sometimes being a little bit ridiculous about some of the things that we planned, and having themes, and, you know, taking the time to curate a moment or a gathering of people and a soiree. And honestly, while some of my favorite moments have been through spontaneity, I would say I have as equal amount of my favorite moments, if not more, through curated moments.
Can we talk about some of our curated moments? And and I think too, because we were talking about this, curated moment does not mean like having a super rigid event where, like, an example would be like, let's say you're hosting a party and you're like, I need to know if everyone is going to come on time, and you need to RSVP by a week, like, you know, a week in advance, and like you're just very rigid.
Don't
and,
be
like,
a drill
you can't
sergeant.
Bring a friend, or, you know, you can't bring a significant, you know. I think curating moments is still having a spirit of the more the merrier, having that skill set to be a good hostess and leaving room for spontaneity. Yes. However, it still means executing an idea that you have that is a unique experience that wouldn't come from just spontaneity and alone, because it requires some planning and thoughtfulness.
Yeah, no, their logistics do play into it, right? And it's good to consider those, but you have to not be so rigid with them that if things don't plan out exactly to the vision that you had in mind going into it, then you could become like a bridezilla type of thing.
And you're not
just in that hosting mode. And the best hosts are the ones who are flexible, and just regardless of whatever changes or happens in that moment, are welcoming and put their guests first, and just want everyone to be together. Because at the end of the day, that is the best part, is that whoever you wanted to be there, everyone's together. It's not the aesthetics, it's not the logistics, it's not the timing.
No.
Sometimes it might even be a shorter event than you thought it would be, but that's fine. You got that moment, even if it was just for a little bit.
Yeah, and I think it's something that we've both prioritized in our lives, and it's made us like closer as friends. Some of my top like curated moments were definitely like the yacht day, which I know, again, like that sounds so pretentious or crazy, but it really wasn't crazy. What happened was we graduated during COVID in California, where you couldn't be in a venue on land with more than 6 people at a table.
But you could run a boat.
Because Newsom did not control the seas.
I think Newsom forgot that some boats are big enough to be event venues. Right. And so we basically, we gamed the system.
We gamed the system, and we got we invited it was 10 of our friends, and we each got to all bring our families on this boat, and it ended up being $10 a person because we split it between all these people. It's not and we only did it for 4 hours or something like that, and we didn't have a full catered meal. It was eat before, and there'll be drinks that everyone can just buy on their own on the boat. And for $10 we had this amazing curated experience that was kind of a once in a lifetime experience. When will I ever be on a yacht in Newport Beach? That's such a luxury thing.
And it came during a time where we were really deprived of moments like that, and just events and being with people in a group setting in general. So we appreciated it so much.
Yes.
Yeah, it was amazing. And we had several others that were kind of similar to that, where we tried to imbue these plan ideas with character and not do a copy and paste kind of plan. Something new, something original, something unique, something not super extravagant. It's not about how much money you put into decorations or how much money you put into food or whatever. It's more time and place and the group. Yeah. And that was what I think, and still to this day, what I think we prioritize the most when it comes to curating moments is really just the group, place, and maybe the activity.
Yeah. And just the energy you bring.
Energy,
And
exactly.
Even this last trip to LA, someone could be oh, it's not worth it to do a trip if you're only going to go out there for a night. That's stupid, whatever. You just stay home. And it's no, I'm working within it's also about working within the resources that you have and being okay with that. Okay, maybe I can't do a 3-night trip to LA because I have a son and I need to be there for him and I want to be there for him, but I can get away for a night and still have a really awesome 12 hours a night. And I think it's finding that compromise too that allows for those curated moments to happen as well.
100%.
Okay,
we're going to move on to next category, personal growth and mindset. Again, no particular order. All of this stuff is important. The first one we have is return to childlike confidence.
Oh, I love that.
Or shoot for returning to childlike confidence, because as we get older, it feels like we get further and further away from that. And it seems like imposter syndrome shows up more frequently every day.
Yeah.
Even going back to the way that I saw my life when I was in college, I thought becoming a millionaire or whatever would be so much easier. You have confidence and then it kind of withers as you get older, but it's replaced with wisdom. And so I would argue that's even more valuable, but confidence is still valuable and can get you so far with meeting new people and feeling good in yourself and waking up in the morning feeling like you're capable, you're confident. And so I think trying to channel childlike confidence and reminding ourselves that we did have that at one point in time, and to try to remember and pull as much as we can from that, I think can help.
I agree. I love this one. And it's something that as a parent, I don't want to ever be the source of dampening my child's confidence.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to be just get realistic. That's a stupid idea. Even now, I'm always telling Lito, that's a great idea. And he goes, I have a good idea. And I'm like, yeah, you do. And your dad encouraging you to build Girl World, for example.
Girl World was the app that I built at 12.
That's amazing.
And my whole family was they were so supportive.
That is what you want to do. That is what you want in childhood, and it gets beaten out of you as an adult, especially from 22 to 25. I think those are the toughest years, and we've talked about this ad nauseum.
Post-grad is not for the faint of heart.
No.
It is so hard.
And I do feel like the childhood confidence, having a little bit of that left did help me power through pregnancy and motherhood. But yeah, I just don't lose it. Like, don't lose that spark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you touched on the other end of that, which is the parenting end.
Yes.
Not just the, oh, we were kids once end.
Yeah.
Because, I want to be a parent like that too, that really wants to give my kid what I felt like I had when I was a kid.
Yeah. And it's not even about money or resource. It's really about like just encouraging them that their ideas are good ideas.
Yeah, they have something to bring to the table that's valuable. Okay, a little bit of a pivot. We've mentioned this mantra before on the podcast. It is one of my absolute favorites of all time, probably top 3. And this was my phrase for the year of 2024, and it was smell the flowers.
That's a good one.
And really what it means to me is that, there's so much in this world and in this life that is there to provide something to us. And I think tapping into that every now and then, even if it might be crossing into the territory of indulgence, I think is really healthy. And it helps us grow, and it helps us, be re-inspired and have those jolts of creativity. And so, yeah, I when I think of smell the flowers, I do think of indulgence, but healthy indulgence and balance and moderation.
Yes.
And I think that's important. I think that's what life's about.
I know, like a healthy indulgence would be like go get the latte and take the walk around the block in your neighborhood. Like, don't be like, oh my gosh, like I should just save the $5, $7, whatever it is, like, and just have a coffee in my apartment and just stay inside. Like, no, it's a beautiful day outside. Like, you're not having a $30 meal, just like go, or whatever it is, or like, if you're it doesn't have to be a monetary thing. It could be like a time thing. Like you feel like, oh, I'm always in a rush. I'm always have to get from point A to point B. And it's like, no, like you could, just take a moment to do something
for yourself.
And not in a selfish way, not in a brat summer way, but in a way that is healthy, and that brings more life into you so that you can give more life to other people, because it's contagious. That mindset is very contagious.
And those little moments, no matter how big or small they are, ground you.
Yes.
Because you're in that moment. You're in the present.
Yes.
You're indulging in that then and there. Something I've been doing this whole year so far is like a new journaling method I've been trying. It's called the Morning Manifesto. Okay. And there's 2 prongs to it. One is I write down the top 3 things that I really want to get done that day. Mm-hmm. So it's got a mix of productivity. Okay. And then the second question is, what adventure am I going to integrate into my day? And so to me, that's also like, what kind of indulgence am I going to integrate into my day? That. So it's a mix of the productivity and then the indulgence. And I just write it down. Yeah. And sometimes I don't get to it until the end of the day. And I didn't necessarily manifest it, but I like documented it somewhere. Right. And it's the Morning Manifesto. It's an amazing journal method. It's a good ratio
too, because usually the indulgence is maybe like less than 5% of your day. So it's still like you're being productive. You're getting what you need to get done. Yeah. It's kind of like the 80-20 rule, resting on Sundays, like Sundays being a day of rest traditionally.
Yes.
And that is also something like very lost in our American go culture, is just 100%. Prioritizing rest, and that it's important to do that.
We should talk about the 80-20 rule now, because that was another item that we had on our list. And it's basically, it does fall in that sort of framing, but it also relating to routines and health and taking care of yourself. We both try to eat healthy. We try to
have the get as much sig.
Have the drunk sig, have a glass of wine every now and then, have the dessert when you're out at dinner with your friends or family. It's not going to kill you. No. You don't need to be so regimented that you can't participate in those moments, because a lot of the time they're bonding moments, and that connection and that communal sharing of indulgence, those are some of the best moments ever.
My favorite childhood memory that ties into like the 80-20 rule and smell the flowers. And I've carried on this tradition, but whenever we were traveling, my dad, like if we'd go to like a really, really good bakery, he would be like, get whatever you want. And that could literally mean getting like 10 pastries. And we'd get this huge box of just like pastries, and they would last like
days,
and we just bring it back to the hotel room and like be trying all these different ones. And to me, that's like one of my favorite memories. And it's still like a mindset that I have now, which is like I was just in LA the other weekend, and I had an early morning flight, and I was like, I'm going to wake up early. I'm going to go to my favorite bakery. I'm going to get like multiple pastries for Lido. And
meanwhile, I was dead on the bed.
No, it's okay.
Ella just had a whole morning to herself, and I'm hungover as hell.
I was like, I need to. And so then I go home and I bring this huge box of pastries home for Lido and my family. And it just felt like a full circle moment. And
it was.
Yeah, it's like an indulging, I don't need to do that, but.
When in Rome.
Yeah, when in Rome, man.
Yeah. This really segues into our next one, which is having an abundance mindset over scarcity mindset.
Yes.
I don't know if we planned that to be back to back, but these are so similar.
Yeah.
And I think that this, I want to bring in like the experiential stuff into the indulgence conversation, because I do think experiences you can also indulge in or overly indulge in, like escaping from work or escaping from your problems, like always trying to feel like you need to be traveling or moving or going to do an activity. Yeah. I do think it's good to be in stillness sometimes. Yeah. And that
have roots.
I associate with the 80-20 rule too.
Yeah.
But for you, what does the abundance mindset over scarcity mindset mean to you?
I think a really good example is when it comes to other people being successful, that you don't see it as a limited amount of success, but rather infinite. Like there's an infinite amount of money, resources, success, opportunities. So let's say a friend, maybe your initial thing is like to be competitive and be like, oh, like I'm jealous that they got that promotion, or I'm jealous that they got that opportunity to travel, or I'm jealous of their relationship with their spouse or whatever,
and thinking that you can't have
those things because that person has it, and then it just builds resentment. And that's what scarcity does. Like if you think about what drives war, what drives conflict, what drives tribes fighting over each other, it's having a scarcity mindset. It's thinking that there's a limited amount of resources, and God did not put us on this earth to have that mindset. If you think about like the imagery of the Garden of Eden and the fact that like we were designed actually not to work and not to feel pain in childbirth and not to have to go through all this.
He's given us everything
suffering.
We need.
Right. So
we have all of the resources on this planet that we need.
If you think about even like the macro dynamics of it, COVID created a scarcity mindset, which forced everyone to even voluntarily at the beginning rush to take those experimental vaccines.
Yeah.
Because it was like, there's no other cure. There's no other treatment.
It was driven by fear.
Yeah. Abundance to me is like, there's always something out there for you, whether it's another solution or more resources or whatever.
Yeah. And also analyzing what you currently have and realizing I am so abundant with the things that I have in my life. I'm so grateful. And if you're constantly saying to yourself, oh, I don't have enough, I need more, you will never be satisfied. No. And so, changing your internal mindset to I am abundant, I live a life of abundance and not a life of scarcity, I think also offloads a lot, and you will feel so much more at peace and grateful for what you have.
It's also a very empowering mindset because you don't feel limited by things. Like you're kind of like, I'll always figure it out.
Yeah. Like, I have enough. I have the tools. I have the resources.
Yes. It's just a matter of me putting my mind to it.
Yeah. So. I also want to say something about credit card debt, because we've been talking about this recently.
Just debt in general.
Like, I value a good experience, a priceless, one-of-a-kind, unique experience so much that I am not afraid of maybe accumulating a little bit of credit card debt.
Right.
Yeah. Because,
No, I agree.
No scarcity mindset. Like, and credit cards, if you think about it, this is an incredible technology that we have invented that allows us to kind of push the envelope a little bit.
Think smarter, not harder. Also, my issue is that if we run on a debt economy, like our country's on a debt economy, so it would only, and we are powering, like our tax dollars are powering the entire world to like function. If you look into post World War II economic theory, like just that's a whole podcast in of itself, and we want to do an economic podcast at some point.
Yes.
But I think you can give yourself a little bit more grace when you realize like the context of how our country operates and that we're a debt economy and that exists at the micro and macro level. And that's not getting yourself into a huge amount of debt because you have a shopping addiction. That's not feeling like, oh, I can. It doesn't even have to be a luxury thing. It could be something that is actually really good. Like one tweet that I saw was, it was go into debt, have kids. And that means like, don't not have kids because you're so afraid of spending money or being temporarily in debt. If you think about it, people take out crazy amounts of student loans. Like why wouldn't that then also apply to children?
Yeah.
And something too that I really think is really important is, as a mother, is if it's okay to go into a little debt to try to avoid your kid going into daycare.
Yeah.
That's something that's really important.
Or healthy food. To buy healthy food,
Yes.
to preserve their cellular health,
Yes.
and in these core
Paying
developmental
cash
years.
for a better doctor, because all the insurance doesn't cover any of the doctors like I want to go to.
These are deal breaker things.
Yeah, and it's like you're putting your money into it's actually an investment, because like if you weren't to eat healthy food, if you weren't to have your kid be either with you or with a nanny or in a better school environment, like they're going to have physical or mental health issues probably later down the road that are going to be more expensive than if you just took that hit early on. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think
Yeah.
debt is almost is necessary when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah, you just have to have a plan to
And
get
it's
out of it.
unfortunate that this,
Yeah.
I think, because of the lack of economic and personal finance management education that people get in high school and college, and probably from their parents, it seems like such a scary thing. You know, we're afraid of our credit scores going down, or we're afraid that we're not going to be able to apply for a loan. And I just don't think that it's as scary as people think it is.
Well, yeah, not even just like, for example.
And there are hacks.
Yeah, there's lots of hacks. Even like, I mean, I've done like a solo podcast about this, but like home ownership. There's a lot of creative ways to look at that and write your taxes off. Same with like children. Like you get a lot of great tax incentives for having kids. Like there's just, you have to look at your money more than just like my income and expenses. Like you have to like take a higher level approach.
What are my assets?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are my write-offs? What are my side businesses? What are, how can I leverage everything? So yeah.
Yeah.
Use Copilot.
Copilot is amazing. It's this AI tool that you can connect to any account, any bank account, any investment account.
Yeah.
Basically log all of your assets and accumulate or
Track it all
calculate
in
your
one
net worth,
place.
and any new transaction that is made, it automatically pulls it in
And categorizes it.
categorizes it based off. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yes.
Okay.
Chasing green lights. The difference. Wait.
No, we're on the
Where are
other
we?
page. Next one is be undeniable in everything you do.
I love that one. To me, that means.
I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, it just means let your actions speak louder than your words. Like you shouldn't have to tell someone how great of a friend you are. They should just know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just show people, don't tell people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's truly, I mean, in dating, I want whoever I'm dating to show me, not tell me. Don't just tell me you're going to do something. Show me
Yes.
through your actions.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like that is so much more trust garnering.
It's more authentic. It's Yeah, it's more trustworthy.
Yeah.
Next one. Okay, this is a kind of a list of different ones that all relate to each other. Listen inward, keeping the noise or keeping the outside noise out. Have a silent quest. Manage your social media inputs.
Okay, so mostly I think this means quiet the noise, especially because social media incurs so much noise in all of our lives. There's so many opinions. There's so many different people with different interests, with different things they're doing. And it's so hard to chisel out what it is that you're wanting and what your heart is telling you and your passions and your desires, given all of this noise that's bombarding us 24/7. And so I think it's, look inwards before you look outwards, across the board.
I think all this noise disrupts your intuition, and I was at lunch with a friend, and they used the word sever to explain the experience that a lot of moms feel like when they get an epidural, for example. And I think that the same could be said about these types of things, social media inputs. It slowly is severing you from your own intuition and ultimately your own relationship with God, because you're letting these other things creep in and replace that.
Yep.
And it clouds your decision making. Because you can't make your decision. You can't turn your decision making into an algorithm, or it's going to be catastrophic.
And because we're also changing every single second, every day.
Yeah.
So you just have to continuously keep looking inward first before looking outward. But I do think that there are things you can gain from looking outward, like getting advice from your friends.
Yeah.
I would just recommend look inward first.
Right.
That's the starting point.
Yeah.
And that's what's most closely connected to God too.
Yes.
It's to you. It's not to other people first and then to you.
Other people should only be in the middle of the bookend. Like the first end and the second end of the bookend should be you.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I love that. And now more than ever, we just have so much input happening.
yeah.
I mean, consuming so much content, so much music, so much different
ChatGPT. It's like
ChatGPT.
crazy.
Yeah, so much input, and we're not really a producer society anymore. So
No.
we're not really releasing it
No.
out. It's just a lot of absorbing, and so it's more important than ever, I think, to look inward first.
Yeah. Next category.
Life philosophy. How did we label these? Okay, hold on. First one, nothing new under the sun.
I love
this is really
one.
yours, so I want you to.
Okay, this is another way to say this is same people, different time. And basically what it means is that the same dynamics have existed since the beginning of time. Good versus evil, the hero's journey, iron sharpening iron, sacrificial love, like all these concepts, just they are not unique to your time. And I think that a lot of times when something really hard is happening or whatever, it can feel very discouraging and very scary, especially like something as crazy as war or financial hardship or these really like just really hard things. And I think understanding that there's nothing new under the sun is so freeing, because it makes you feel like it's not just me going through this, or it's not just our generation going through this, that every generation has gone through similar struggles. They've just looked different depending on that time period.
100%. Yeah.
So I think it's really empowering, and it makes you not feel as down about the world being an imperfect place, because it's just inherently an imperfect place and it won't ever be perfect. So stop trying to make it perfect. Just accept the world for what it is.
That's out of our control.
And try to be the best you can be.
Yes,
And
exactly. That's the only thing any of us can do is control what we can control and how we operate in the world and our own mindsets, but everything else out of our control.
And I've been I have fallen prey to this, where I've gotten so focused on trying to fix the macro that that's become a distraction from fixing my own problems and my own brokenness. And really, I don't need to focus on that. I need to focus on my own sanctification, the people closest to my own circle.
Yeah. I wrote an entry a few years ago titled macro concepts seen through a micro lens. Micro lens being me. I'm just this one little tiny person in this world, and I have a very micro lens of everything.
Yeah.
My micro lens is only the experience that I've had in my life and the tools that I have access to and the places that I've seen. But I know there's so much more, millions more out there. And even Earth and the whole universe is such a tiny little perspective. Right. And so I wrote that in my exploration of just these macro concepts. And there's really only a couple. Good versus evil is probably the biggest one. But I'm trying to figure out where I live on this spectrum of like black and whiteness versus gray area. And something I've always resonated with is living in the gray area because I have a micro lens. And so I can only interpret things in a gray area kind of way because I don't have enough macro capability to see things in black and whiteness.
Right. You don't, nor should you.
Nor should I.
You're a human. You don't see it all. You're one human.
I'm not given the ability to see black and white. So it's only gray.
That's a really beautiful way to say that. And that one of the things that I love about, like, do not judge anyone. Like, humans you do not possess the power to judge. Like, that is only something that God has when a person dies. And it's because of your very point of
he's outside of the spectrum.
He can read your soul.
So he can see the furthest ends of the black and whites of the spectrum.
He can see
we are in it.
Yes.
There's no way we can fully see the full picture.
You can't read someone else's soul and heart.
Correct.
Like, it's not going to happen, let alone the whole world, like, trying to figure that all out. Yeah, I like that a lot.
That's a really good way to tie into something we've talked about on the podcast before, which is that we really try to live in the gray area.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean not have morals. It means...
And that also doesn't mean that we don't believe in objectivity, because we do, but most of that is from like a faith standpoint, believing that it exists, but it's sometimes not even it's not up to us to decide that.
I feel like, I think being able to exist in the gray area, but also be very objective means that I actually think objectivity allows you to bring in subjectivity and mercy into a situation, because you're starting from a framework and you're allowing, like, let's say you and I are having a conflict and you're 95% wrong, but I'm still 5% wrong, because there's no conflict where both parties are somewhere at fault.
Yeah.
And even if I'm only 5% wrong, if we get into a conflict and we both are trying to find a resolution, our hearts are in the right place, being able for me to see the objectivity, which is outside of both of our perspectives, allows me to acknowledge the 5% that I was wrong, and can help us both move towards a solution. It might even help you admit your wrongdoing quicker.
And you're already preparing yourself for taking accountability if you have to, because you're proactively factoring in possibility that you are wrong.
Right.
And so you're prepared for that. But if you never are proactively doing that, and you think every action step that you take is 100% the right thing to do at that point in time, then you're unprepared, and you're going to go into defense mode.
I know getting in a conflict with someone that's super subjective is very limiting, because you can't bring any nuance into the conversation. And usually what will happen is someone will say, well, that's my truth. And then there's nowhere.
What does that mean?
Then there's nowhere for you to go, because you're just like,
I hate that. Okay, that's my truth. What does that even mean?
How can we resolve? We cannot resolve the conflict, because you're just saying you have my truth and I have your truth, and there's no objective reality that we're both trying to get to.
You could say, I know my experience, or I know my
Right.
perceptions.
My perspective.
But I know my truth. Truth is truth.
Yeah.
I believe in objective truth, and that through a series of,
Yeah.
steps with a person, like that will get chiseled out. But yeah, I'd rather my truth be replaced with my experience or my interpretation or
Yes.
my, words like that.
Also, objective truth it's something that changes because you become more wise and you learn more things. For example, especially things that are maybe not as clear as like murder is wrong, but something that maybe is a little bit more nuanced. Like it may take you some life experience or reading a book or getting new information that's factual. And it doesn't mean that you don't believe in objective truth. It's just for that specific topic, you've changed the goalpost of what that objective truth is because you've learned more things.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
No, that does. I really like that.
So that's also living in the gray area because you're not saying, I know 100% this is true. You're leaving that 20% open.
80-20 rule.
Right. To grow and learn more about whatever topic that is.
Yes. Yes. So. That's amazing. Actually, I want to move our half-baked ideas point into this section because I think it is more philosophical and like mindset based. And we've talked about this in previous episodes where we've kind of called out certain content creators who always seem to present their opinion in the most solidified, 100% baked or 100% cooked sort of way. Mm-hmm. And something that we've gone into this podcast doing when we do share our opinions is really try to deliver it in a tone that lives in this half-cooked, maybe 75% cooked, like medium, 80% cooked realm. And that is truly to leave room for,
changing your mind,
not beating yourself up if you change your mind, for not giving something that's so set in stone that someone could come back and give you flack for that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's another one of our points too, is to live more in that 80% cooked zone.
If it's not 100% true, or like if you're gonna come out that strong, like you better be sure. Yes. Like you better be very convicted because otherwise you shouldn't come out like that. It's too dogmatic.
Yeah, especially when it comes to politics and things that we're just hearing through the grapevine online and through the news and journalists that we aren't there for.
A lot of people with the online and so much decentralized media and content, we have lost the art of like true journalism, which is, you have multiple confirmed sources and like cross-variate. Like there's like actual rules of journalism that people haven't studied that are now just, and that's fine. Like everyone's allowed to speak and have an opinion, but that's not the same as like being a journalist and going through that process. So I wouldn't present myself like real journalism is really boring. It's not entertaining because it takes a very long time because it takes a long time to verify things. It's not an opinion you formed overnight because of some tweet you saw. So
yeah, completely agree.
Okay, next one. This is one of my favorites that I was told as a child. It's very Shakespearean. The only difference between a tragedy and a comedy is timing.
Love this.
And to me, it means like you have the power to always flip the script on the ending.
Yes.
And it's just a matter of when the story ends.
It's a hack to change your mindset and how you look at a past event that maybe in the moment and that time, because you didn't have space away from it yet, you saw as a tragedy and you pitied yourself. And then with time and removal from that period, you are able to flip the script and see it as a comedy and make fun of it, or make fun of the different plot points maybe that hurt you or whatever,
or it's to
sort of as a coping mechanism.
I don't even think it's a coping mechanism. I think it's an action. It's okay, let's say for example I wronged you and I refused in that moment to say sorry, and we stop being friends.
Okay.
And then I die, and I end my life, and you're not my friend. Versus if I take some time away from the friendship and be like, oh, you know what? I should have apologized. I don't need to lose that lifetime friend. I'm going to go back to Jordan and apologize. And then the story ends, and it ends on a happy note. Because because the time you drew up, like the timing that it ends with you flipping the script and realizing I'm not going to be stubborn. I'm going to try to change the ending with actionable
you always
steps.
have the ability to do that.
Right.
As long as that person is there and alive.
Yes.
And especially nowadays where everyone's just a phone call away.
Call the person.
Resolve the problem.
Yes.
Don't hold the grudge. Offload it.
Literally, I always think
it's just better for everyone involved.
Imagine that person. This is so morbid, but like imagine that person tomorrow getting hit by a bus and dying. Like, how would you feel if you didn't?
Terrible.
Like, you just do it.
It's on your conscience.
Like,
you don't want it on your conscience anymore.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah. This one's yours that you always really like.
Yes. If negative energy isn't transformed, it will be transmitted.
Yes.
This goes so well with the one we just talked about.
Yes.
Yes. If you're holding on to something and it's giving you negative energy and you are harnessing negative energy, you're exerting that out to whoever you're around, that is going to attach to them. Negative energy has to go somewhere.
Yes.
But what I think people forget is that you can transform that. Through our own mental and mindset related tools, we can manually override and transmit positive energy, even though we take in so much negative energy on a daily basis every single day, especially in this world. Like, we see scary things all the time. We see really hard visuals. It really confuses our emotional processing abilities. But yeah, everyone is capable of that. And I think we do it a lot more than we think.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't forget that you have the power to do that.
Yeah. Okay. The next one is on happiness. So happiness is a byproduct, not the normal day-to-day experience. What does that mean?
Happiness
to you?
is 100% a byproduct.
So
I think that you are shooting yourself in the foot if you think happiness is a there place that you achieve and you're just there forever.
So you're saying it's happiness comes from something else. It's not just like,
it's not a continuous state to be in.
Could that also translate to what are the negative things of trying to chase happiness as a continuous state? For example, in a romantic relationship, do you feel like that could cause someone to prematurely like end relationships quickly because like once you get out of that honeymoon
100%,
yeah or like a job or something like that?
I think if you get into a relationship thinking that happiness is guaranteed for the entirety of that relationship, you're setting yourself up for failure.
I think too, with becoming
it's
a parent,
impossible to maintain
too, if you think that your child is responsible to drive your happiness, you're going to be very disappointed because yes, children bring probably like the happiest moments to you, but also they're not there to like be your clown.
Yeah.
Like they're there as their own independent human and you're in service to them. They're not in service to you. They're the minor in the situation. So
speaking of other external factors like that could be the source for quote unquote happiness. Someone could say money. Right. You know, once you have set amount of money that you're guaranteed happiness. Money doesn't buy happiness. This is a
we
quote.
Know this.
Oh, yeah, we know this
it's
stuff.
Scientifically proven.
Yeah, I think something that we all can strive for is more of a homeostasis, contentment. You want to be content, and then in that baseline of contentment, you're much closer to finding bits of happiness scattered and hopefully more frequent. But yeah, happiness, joy, those are not continuous ongoing states.
I would say what you can have as continuous is peace. I think peace is something that's always, can be continuous.
That's like homeostasis.
Yeah, but it's not even like it's not a peace that's driven by like physical comfort. It's a peace really driven by spiritual, like inner peace, because I think you see people that are like monks, for example, and they seem like some of the most peaceful people you've ever met, and they're living on the floor. Like even our new Pope, for example, like he literally lived in the poorest parts of Peru for 20 plus years of his life, and he seems like he just has this like peacefulness about him, and you don't like it's not a comfortable lifestyle. Like it's someone who, like Mother Teresa, for example, like her aura is peace.
Yeah.
She lived
it's their ultimate goal
in
life.
So I think having peace be your homeostasis, you will be better set up to experience the happiness byproducts.
Yes.
Because also if you're chasing happiness, you don't know how to recognize it and then enjoy it when you do have those like dopamine hits of happiness. Like you don't know how to enjoy it.
I want to say this quote that my boss said, because when I was talking to him about this concept, he said something that I loved so much. And this is from his words. I primarily learned that you don't take anything for granted and that the human experience is beyond simple emotional states. If you want to be something and make something of yourself, you have to look beyond how you feel in the moment. A bit of discomfort and a hell of a lot of pain can shape you into so much better. So this is, again, going back to the 80-20 rule, that in that maybe ideally smaller percentage of discomfort and hardship develops you.
Yes.
That's partially a little bit of an issue that I have with, like monkhood or people that live in just this like super peaceful homeostasis all the time, is you are sort of removing yourself from life stresses that can make you a more well-rounded, capable, resilient person, because you have such a unique experience in the world.
Yeah.
And you can manually sign yourself up for those, like taking on challenge, working really hard. I feel like the highs and lows on that emotional roller coaster emerge when we are kind of signing up for stuff like that.
Yeah, it kind of goes into the next one, which is chasing green lights. Like kind of
shout out McConaughey.
Yeah, this is a good one.
If you guys haven't read Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey, it's a really good book.
Anyone like graduating college through late 20s, I would especially recommend it, because I feel like it's a very like coming of age life advice type of book.
Yes,
even though it's like technically a memoir
for both men and women.
Yes, both genders. Yeah.
So when you spot a green light, chase it. And analyze what are green lights versus what are red lights and yellow lights.
And be grateful when you're in a cycle of green lights, and acknowledge it too. Like, remember that trip last year we took for Memorial Day, and it was like we had no expectations going into the weekend.
Zero.
We were not even trying to curate necessarily any moments, and that was a time where it just was like green light, green light, green light. Like everything kept working out, from like the people to the atmosphere to getting into restaurants and reservations. Like it all just kind of like fell into place. And instead of just being like, oh, that's what I get, that's what happens all the time, being like, oh my gosh, that was a green light kind of unicorn weekend. Like I'm so grateful for that. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You kind of have to look into the past and be like, what were the green lights, and recognize them, because if you don't, then you're just going to be always chasing, and you're never going to sit with them and have gratitude. Recognizing
the red lights is important too, because I think some people don't recognize the red lights, and then they're just fighting. They're fighting those red lights.
They're trying to force something.
They're trying to force it. Maybe it's like a career direction. Like you really have thought like, this is the career I'm supposed to have, or this is the lifestyle I'm supposed to have. And you can't see that like life is putting a red light for a reason, and listen to it. And then you can chase the other green lights that will be a different direction.
100%.
So, yeah.
Okay. With this, and we'll try to hurry these up because we have just a couple more. Bear with us. There's never a perfect time. There's never a perfect time. The life plan that you think that you have written down at 20 years old is not going to happen in the way that you thought at that time. Like, it's just, I mean, Have you talked to anyone about like macro life plans that actually happened the way that they thought they were going to happen?
No, even the most successful, innovative people, it doesn't. There's always.
Exactly. All plans are fluid. And so I think a lot of the time we fall into a habit of trying to choose the perfect time or time window to do something or start that business or have kids or get married. And circumstances change. Mm-hmm. It's never going to be a perfect time.
Yeah.
So I think that's where you really have to stay in the present and be able to recognize, oh, am I maybe in a green light right now to do this?
And yeah, that green light isn't going to be green forever. So chase it.
So exactly.
Do it. Like, just do it.
Don't be scared. Press the gas pedal when it is a green light.
Yes. You don't get a lot of second chances for things. You can control the inputs, but not the final outcome. We kind of talked about this. This is ultimate detachment because you are only focused on the things that you individually can put and work towards something, and you're building your confidence so you can put your cards on the table but still be ready to walk away. And that's ultimate detachment, and that's the opposite of trying to manipulate a specific outcome.
Mm-hmm.
So
actually
manipulation is something you do in silence, but being forthcoming and having strength and vulnerability is something that you do aloud.
Mm-hmm.
And
again, 80-20 rule.
Yeah,
I feel like that is like the theme of everything on our list.
I know that should be the episode title at this point.
No, really, yeah.
Okay, so that's that one.
Next one, have a silent quest.
Yes.
You love this.
I love a silent quest.
Ella always has a silent quest. I also kind of do too, but you do. You have bigger ones.
Well, I just recently have had some big ones. Yeah, and this ties into like not wanting to get other people's opinions and potentially could manipulate how you're thinking about something until you're ready to share it with people, and also ties into wanting to have something more 80% baked before you're ready to share it too.
Yeah.
Because I think with social media, people get in a habit of just sharing things that or like business ideas or what that they haven't like fully thought through. And I think it would relieves a lot of pressure to do it by yourself first for a little bit.
Yeah. No, and it makes that reveal so much more exciting when you have that nearly finished or at least 80% ready.
Yeah.
But there's always room. We always want to leave room for refinement.
Yes.
And so whatever that project is, I just think that that's really cool. And especially to show those pieces of work to your friends and family.
Right.
Who are like want to see you succeed and thrive and be passionate about something. I feel like that's a really exciting reveal to get.
Also, nothing's worse if you announce you're working on something and you're only started at 10% and then something pops up that and then it gets you off track from finishing on time, and then you have like a family member being like, so how's this quest going? And you're like, like I'm only 30% done. Like I don't want to talk about it.
No, but that's what we see so much with social media is everyone feels like they need to publicize everything that they're working on and the progress and show the step by step.
Like film
a video. Like, what if you just came out of nowhere and dropped this bomb of, hey, I wrote a book, or hey, I filmed a movie, or hey, I went on this insane adventure, and here was my documentary of it.
No man is going on my social media until I have a right.
I love that.
I don't know if that's true, but I just
let's keep some mystery. Mystery is fun,
and I love to post. Like, it's not that I'm the type of person that doesn't post, but I'm not. We were talking about this with our friend Emma. Like, it's kind of more exciting just to drop a bomb, post of a random dump from one night and then go silent for another 2 months and then do that again versus being the type of person that puts everything on their story every single day of the chronicle.
Yeah,
of your
it's not
day.
chic. It's chic to be living life, and then when you do want to post in a moment that you can post, it's more of a let me catch you up,
right?
Not you're along with me
for every day
because I'm living my life.
Yes, I don't even. Both of us don't have Instagram on our phones, so it's when I do post, it is very intentional. Like I go to the app store, I download the app, I
relog in,
I post, and then I delete it again. Like,
correct.
Yeah. Okay, last few. Long-term perspectives. This one's yours, I think. Never ignore compounding interest.
I love this one, and I'm glad we have talked about finances a little bit. This is more of a philosophical phrase, but compounding interest is something that I feel like really relates to relationships. And, you know, as value is imbued into that relationship, there's more at stake if you lose that. And it does compound.
Yeah.
The more memories you have, it just like, it kind of like strengthens in the background. And I think that this can apply to a lot of aspects of life, but relationships is probably the first example that comes to mind.
Yeah.
With where that compounding interest phenomenon plays a role in something outside of just personal finance.
For sure. Okay.
Ooh,
next one.
Can I skip the middle one and go straight to, okay. Yeah. Always dig deep to find the silver linings. Most people have gone through a hardship where it's been more difficult than others to find silver linings. I went through something recently where it took almost multiple years to find the silver linings, and I still was able to, but through that I learned they're always there. They're always there. You have to dig deep. You have to be really observant. You have to look inward. You have to look outward. You have to look at so many angles, but they are there. And so, I think that that's empowering to find them and to sometimes know even when there's a next hardship that you might not be able to see it yet. You might not have that external bird's eye view of what happened to be able to see the silver lining, but it's still there. So just be patient. You will find it. And
it helps you with the next issue to get through it too. Because, you know, once I get through it, I'll be able to look back and identify those things, hopefully.
Yeah.
Okay, next.
We kind of already talked about this one. Signing up for discomfort. That's important. Last page, guys.
Ooh, I like this one. A little bit of escapism is healthy and it will save you a lot of money on therapy. I think I wrote this one, right? This was something.
Escapism is crucial. Again, 80-20. You have to indulge in a little bit of escapism.
When I was pregnant with Lito, I definitely indulged in a lot of escapism, almost maybe to an extreme.
What were like the main outlets?
Travel. I went on a trip like every 3 weeks and I was pregnant.
Just running away.
It was more like I was seeing my pregnancy. I really was like, this is going to be like, once I give birth, I will never be a maiden again. And I wanted to have a proper like farewell to maidenhood so that I could be a mother. And I always I try to like give that advice to first time moms, especially people who are like maybe struggling, not necessarily with like infertility, but just maybe getting pregnant is taking a longer process than they thought, or they're just very anxious for their baby to come. And I really try to say, enjoy this, like these last few months of maidenhood. Yeah. And I might have done that to an extreme, but it was what I needed in that moment to power through that hard time in my life, because pregnancy is not for the weak, and solo pregnancy is definitely not for the weak. And I like breakups are hard as they are normally. And then I was pregnant on top of it. So I felt like the only way I could really get through it and feel in control was by like doing all these trips. And it wasn't like I was going to Europe or anything crazy, but I was like doing a lot of camping, and I went to Big Sur, I went to Carmel, I went to Sedona. Like I just did a lot of.
That's probably not even all of it. There was
Aspen or Colorado, I think at one point. Like I just did a lot of like any opportunity. Someone was like, "Can you do this for work?" or a friend thing. I was like, "Yeah, like let's."
Yeah.
Like I didn't cancel my birthday thing, you know.
You needed that at that point in time.
And I remember I finally decided, like, maybe like 2 weeks before my due date to go to like my first ever therapy session. And I just like offload for like an hour. And then I realized like, I can't process this right now. Like I have to just, I'm in survival mode and I just need to get through survivor mode and then I can go back and talk through it with someone.
I think you were considering more the logistics of the timing that you had, wanting to maximize the time window that you had, and save the more offloading stuff for later when you weren't able to travel as easily.
It wasn't just a timing thing. I just like mentally, like, if I had opened up all of the trauma as it was unfolding, I don't think I would have been able to like get through the pregnancy, get through the birth.
I see. Okay.
Like sometimes you have to get through the trauma and then come out of it and then be able to like go to someone and process.
Yes. Have the bird's eye view.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you're in it, it can be really tough.
Totally.
So.
And also I do think just with escapism, like a couple other examples of escapism that come to mind to me are like drinking alcohol,
right,
some recreational drugs. I mean, we're bombarded with so many escapism outlets, video games, porn, movies. I love going to the movies every now and then. That's escapism, but it feeds your soul and it gives you a new perspective that can be creatively inspiring. And so I do think that indulgence in escapism can reset you and it can, give you new ideas and perspectives. And that's good. It's all for growth.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yes. And escapism from our phones. Like there's so many different forms of it.
Okay, we have 3 more, and arguably these are like some of the best ones. There's strength and vulnerability.
Yes, there is, especially as women. It's very important.
And men.
And men. But I think women, our strength is in our vulnerability.
Men being vulnerable, it is so masculine to me.
Yeah.
I think that is so attractive.
Yeah.
I want men to be vulnerable more often because what I think some men who are struggling with their masculinity think is that by being vulnerable, they're giving up aspects of their manhood.
Yeah.
But actually, it pulls us in. It pulls women in. If you're trying to get a woman to want to be empathetic toward you and suck her into your orbit, I think vulnerability is a great way to do that.
Yes. And I think people think vulnerability is like breaking down and having this emotional roller coaster, but actually I think true vulnerability sometimes it can be crying, but I actually think true vulnerability is after you've processed and then you come to the table and you're like, hey, I really thought about what happened last week and like this is how I felt about it. How do you feel about it? Or
I've processed.
Yeah, it comes from a place of process but trying to get to that next level. And I think normally it does have to be initiated by women, and I think that that's okay, but I think men should take that green light when a woman is initiating the vulnerability, even in a small way, and take that as see that as an invitation that she's a trusting source to open up to. And I think we do have to give men some grace because if they haven't been taught that muscle, it may take them 5 or 10 invitations from a woman in order to then open up. Some guys, they might be able to open up faster. Maybe they've been in more long-term relationships. Maybe they had a mother that was able to help them navigate that. But I would say most
maybe
men,
don't write them off just because in one instance they weren't able to meet you there.
No, I think you need to do like 5 to 10 probably. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. Give them grace and be patient.
Yeah, give people grace.
Have faith that they're capable. It just might take a little bit more time and sensitivity.
Again, not at the expense of protecting your own peace, but in a healthy way that feels appropriate.
I do agree, though. I think women more innately, and maybe because of both nature versus nurture, we have more of that muscle already.
Yeah, well, think about our friendships. Think about the content. Like we bond face-to-face activities.
Like we're literally doing a podcast.
No, but men bond side by side, like video games, running. Like they
because face to face is like
it's too intimate. Like
it's
a lot of
homosexual.
people will say, like it's easier to have a more vulnerable conversation with a man, maybe in the car or like doing something that's more side by side,
movement related.
I don't know if that's true, but I could be. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense.
But I think you don't have to unload everything to have to, as a woman, create a safe space and invitation. You can do that without showing all your cards at one time. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's freedom and commitments, which also is kind of a one that
it's a bit parallel. I mean, all of these are parallel to each other, but yeah, I think that commitments get a bad rap in our culture right now. That they're restricting, they're restraining, we want to all be free range ponies, but actually, you can still be a free range pony.
Yes,
with a commitment, because it kind of gives you a guideline. It gives you a direction. It gives you something to follow.
Some guardrails.
And you still have so much room for exploration and self development in that.
Yeah, if you don't ever make any commitments, your life is going to be really boring. Because like we said, curating a moment, that is a combination of logistical planning and leaving room for spontaneity. If you
80-20 rule.
If you only,
dude, 80-20 rule is everything.
Yes. If you only are spontaneous, you're going to have a very boring life because people will not invite you to things because you will come off as flaky. Like literally you will stop getting invites to things.
Yeah.
Versus if you are in the middle, like for example, we went to LA and we didn't make any plans before showing up there, but we made the plan to go to LA. And
that was the only plan. We're just going to go.
And if we didn't commit to going to that trip and we were like, oh no, that's too much pressure to go and we don't know how it's going to go. And I want to be free to maybe do something else that weekend. If a guy asks me for if you want to like leave all those tabs open, we would have missed a really fun weekend.
Yeah.
Which was some core memories because we were trying to be so non-committal, but actually so much freedom came within the construct of a plan. Like we had a plan, we had an idea of a plan, but it wasn't like a full like itinerary.
Yes, there was a partial commitment involved that was necessary to be able to meet that time and place, and then the rest was history.
Right.
The rest was non-committal plans that just ended up happening.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's like I think about marriage a lot when I think of freedom and commitments. Yes. I think that marriage seems like such a scary commitment because you're confined and you don't know how you're going to operate yet because we don't have a reference point.
Right.
No one who's been married has a reference point of what it's like to be married yet.
Right.
Outside of external opinions and things people say who are married. But yeah, it's a better free range thing than I think people think.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like it goes back to like kind of rejecting like hookup culture because it's just like really not that fun. Like it's better to be more intimate with one person and like grow your intimacy over time as opposed to just like giving a little piece of yourself away to so many people and then not forming any sort of like soul connection with any of them. Like that can be kind of, it will infringe on your freedom in other ways that you don't realize. So yeah, I don't know. And then also think about it just from a time perspective. Like think about how much time goes into dating intentionally versus once you are in a committed relationship, then you don't have to think about dating anymore. Like you have new things you have to think about, but you don't ever have to like think about that ever again. Like that's really nice.
Yeah.
Like so much of my energy goes into that, So
how about like a first date? Like I went on a first date recently and I committed to the time.
Right.
Committed to very little details because he coordinated the date.
Yeah.
But once I got there, the rest is history.
Yeah.
So there was freedom in that commitment. Still like nuanced things were able to be factored in.
Yeah.
But it was solely because I committed in the beginning.
Yes.
And it ended up being amazing.
Well, yeah. And like, if you don't ever commit to anything, no one will commit to you. Like, I always think about like, try to imagine your funeral. Like, how do you want people to remember you? How many, do you want people to show up for you? And you don't want to have an empty funeral. Like, you want it to be filled, and not in a narcissistic way, but just in a way that's like, you want your life to have impact on the people that are close to you.
Yeah.
And you do that by making commitments.
And if you're a flake, then no one's going to show up for you.
No.
You didn't show up for them.
Right. Exactly.
Why would they? All right. Last one. This is a great one to end on.
Yes.
And it also, everything is 80-20 rule. I don't think I've realized this until we're recording. You can have roots, but also have wings.
Okay, imagine a free range pony with wings.
Can we edit that?
Like a Pegasus pony.
Wait, can we make that our entire brand?
Yes.
That is perfect.
Okay.
Grounded, but flying. Grounded, but soaring in the air.
Yeah, like you're on land 80%
Free range
of the time.
Pegasus. Yeah. No, it means you can be grounded, you can be traditional, you can be still, but also have room for all of this adventuring and spontaneity and exploration and trying new things and appreciating the good things and the things you already know and embracing openness and newness, but also still appreciating, things you already know and you've acquired.
Yes. It's perfect because you have to have something to ground you, but you also don't want to be so grounded that you're missing green lights and missing opportunities and missing spontaneity and
uniqueness
and innovation and something that you've never thought about before,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what was I going to say?
I'm obsessed with that.
But yeah, it's good. It's really good.
I think we're going to leave it there, you guys. That was a really good one to end on.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening. Honestly, if we make this a series where every year we add another learning or do another list of learnings, I don't even know.
I mean,
how much more we're going to come up with, but this is my heart.
We've been working on this since we were like 18 probably, and a lot of these, I'm just thinking about even the energy being transmitted versus transformed. Like, I remember sitting on your couch in college, hungover, talking about that concept. So these are not just things that we just casually wrote down in 30 minutes. These are things that throughout our friendship we have talked through and then refined over years and years and years, and then finally took from our own in journals and compiled into a list that was very curated. This isn't just something we threw together.
And this list is a prime example of our 80% cooked material. Mm-hmm. I fully believe and feel like all of these are 80% cooked in my brain. I feel very confident in all of them. And I want you guys, whoever's listened to this point of the episode, to appreciate them too and try to implement them in your life the best way you can.
Yeah, make them yours.
Yeah. Make variations, spins on them. It's totally respectable. So yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers, you guys.
Everyone.
We will talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye.